Welcome back to Greg Plays Games. Today I have my updated top 10 Nintendo Switch games. At number 10 I have Luigi's Mansion 3. This was ranked a bit higher on my previous list, so there are definitely some new games on the list and some familiar ones. This one stayed in the top 10 just because I think it's so well done, and there's not a ton of Luigi games. In fact, this is really the only one you can play other than the multiplayer Mario games. And I mean, if there are 10 Nintendo Switch games, I definitely feel like you need to have this one, even if it's just for playing it around Halloween time to get you in the holiday mood. It's just a really fun puzzle game, not too challenging. It'll make you think, that's for sure, but you won't be raging, and it's super fun just to go around and vacuum. But yeah, very much a puzzle-based game, super well animated. The cutscenes look really good, and definitely one of the best looking games on Nintendo Switch. At number 9 is Metroid Dread. This is the first Metroid game I ever fully played. I had actually never played any of them before, and I felt like I didn't miss out on anything having never played any of those games, because this really did it did reference previous games in ways, but you definitely don't need to know them in order to enjoy this game. And initially when I played it, I did feel like it was really short, and I do kind of feel like it could have been a little bit longer, but it definitely was never boring at any points during the gameplay experience, and it's super challenging, very stressful, which is kind of its goal, and it does so really well, and you definitely want to play it. Like, it's not it's an enjoyable stress. So I definitely recommend this game, even if you've never played any of these games before, because that's kind of the position I was in, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, it is a bit on the shorter side. Nintendo games typically don't go on sale, so it's just one of those things you're probably just going to have to spend up, even though it's not the most lengthy gameplay experience. It was definitely worth it. At number 8, I have probably the most recent game to be released, making the top 10 list, and at number 8 is LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. In this game, you get to play through all 3 of the Star Wars trilogies in LEGO game, so this is definitely on the list if you're a fan of Star Wars or have nostalgia for the Star Wars LEGO games. The LEGO franchise definitely oversaturated consumers with different LEGO games, so I do feel like the quality and overall just appeal of the LEGO games didn't necessarily hold up for me, but once I saw what this game looked like, I was super excited. Definitely a Star Wars fan, so if you don't like Star Wars, this really may not be the game for you, but if you like Legos, then maybe. If you like neither Legos nor Star Wars, then you probably don't think this should be in the top 10 Nintendo Switch games lists. Full disclaimer, all of the footage you're seeing is recorded on an Xbox Series S, not a Nintendo Switch. I have not personally played it on a Nintendo Switch, but I've heard that it runs pretty decently, and so many aspects of this game just remind me of specifically Super Mario Odyssey, as far as, you know, just collecting a bunch of Kyber bricks in the LEGO Star Wars game, Power Moons and Mario, unlocking other characters. So it's definitely a fun game if you enjoy 3D platformers. The combat is also pretty engaging and fun as well, and just being able to see all the different Star Wars characters as Legos is always super fun. The stories themselves are good. Some of the Phantom Menace levels were not as exciting, but you know, that's just kind of due to the movie, which isn't as bad as some people think, but definitely a very fun game. I am still playing it. There's so much to unlock. That's what I really like about it, is there's just so much to do, and yeah, there's a ton of stuff to see if you're a Star Wars fan. So this is for all the Star Wars fans and LEGO fans. At number 7, I have Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. Definitely one of the best Mario games, maybe of all time? I don't know. And on top of that, you have Bowser's Fury, which is also a super fun Mario game. So just the fact that you really get two full separate games, one of them being a super awesome single player Mario kind of open world experience, and then also a more traditional timed Mario level multiplayer experience. I have not played online a ton, so I don't know how well that works, but I know there's online multiplayer in this version of the game. And obviously you can change characters. You unlock some other surprise characters. I won't spoil anything for anyone who hasn't beat the game. But yeah, just really well crafted Mario levels, challenging. The later levels get very challenging. I still have not beat is it Challenge Road? I cannot remember the final level, but it is just absolutely brutal. I have not been able to beat it. Definitely comment if you've been able to have beat that final level in this game. So if you like a challenge, it's definitely there. You have to work for it, but it's definitely very fun. The levels are awesome, and just everything, each level kind of does something different and creative, so even though there's a ton of levels to beat, it never feels like you're doing the same thing. And they do a really good job of highlighting and featuring the different power-ups. So my favorite is like the multiplier cherry, where you basically get the power-up and you turn into multiple little Marios. It's a super cool power-up, and they have a ton of that stuff in the game. So yeah, easily one of the best Mario games. Definitely got to get this one if you have a Nintendo Switch. At number 6, I have Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is Pokemon's version of Breath of the Wild. At least that's what they marketed as, more or less. They kind of just ripped it off, and they ended up doing it very successfully. I do think graphically this game may have had a lot of room for improvement, but honestly, other than that, it's an amazing game. The graphics were, you kind of are forced to notice it at different points while you're playing, but the game is genuinely just so much fun. You don't really mind, and you get so kind of locked into sneaking up on Pokemon and catching them that it doesn't really matter, and it's so satisfying to catch them. And I really hope that in the new Pokemon games that come out later this year, I really hope that they feature that catch mechanic instead of having to battle to catch Pokemon, because it felt so much more true to what the series depicted in the shows, really, and also just kind of like what you want to do when you play the game. It's very fun, and it's very satisfying to catch the Pokemon. They did a really awesome job with that. And yeah, this honestly really surpassed my expectations. When the first initial trailers were released, I was not really interested, and then listened to reviews and was super impressed and really enjoyed it, and it's in my top 10 list. At number 5, I have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This is honestly just an insane game from a logistics standpoint. There isn't a single character from video games that pretty much is not represented in some way, shape, or form. So this game is kind of appealing to anyone, and it also in the sense that this is a good party game where you can kind of have up to like 16 people play, or I know like 8 people, or I don't know, crazy amount of people playing. Super unnecessary. I also would not recommend playing with that many people. But you can have items on and you can have a good time, or if you're super competitive, you can plug in your GameCube controller and go to town online, Ethernet plugged in. People go hard at this game, and I respect the hell out of it. It's super competitive, and people can go as deep on this game as they want, or even if you're casual, I think that this game is for you. It just kind of don't play online. If you're casual, just play against the computers and leave them at a very easy difficulty. Otherwise, you're probably never going to play this game again if you go and play online. This game can have that effect too. So it is a bit divisive, but the fact of the matter is it's you know, if you're buying a Nintendo Switch, probably one of the first games you're buying, and you know, adding Sora to Smash as kind of the final character was a great way to kind of wrap up the game and to leave on a high note, because it is just the craziest thing ever. I don't really know where they go from here, because it's a perfect fighting game just on top of how insane it is that all of the different characters in this. It's also just really well made, and each character feels like the character. It's, yeah, just very well done. So a must-own Nintendo Switch game. At number 4 is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is just the game that never dies. I don't think it is the best-selling Switch game anymore. I think Animal Crossing is. I could be wrong, but if it's not 1, it's 2. And if it's not 2, it's probably number 1. And it is a perfect game, just kind of like Smash Bros. It's just perfectly made. I don't really know how you improve it. And they recently started releasing new courses as well, so it just, you know, gives it even more reason to be relevant. And you know, the new courses definitely vary in quality, but if you're asking me, honestly, it's better than nothing, and I would much rather take these half-baked courses than no new courses, because you know, it's hard to justify playing the same game for like 10 years straight. So I was glad that they added some new courses, and you know, as of now, the new courses haven't come out, and we only have the first 2 sets, so there's still plenty to come out, which is really exciting. And you know, this game is going to be relevant throughout the entire Nintendo Switch's life cycle, which is so crazy to think about. Definitely an awesome party game as well, and the online, it just works, baby. You know, it's nothing special, but you can go in and do some races, you can play with friends, so it's a good time. It's you know, also one of those Switch games where you're probably buying it immediately. You're probably getting this or Smash Bros, probably one of these two, I would guess, and then Mario or Zelda if you're getting a brand new Nintendo Switch game. So honestly, if that's kind of why you're watching this video, you want to know which game to buy, it really just depends on what you like. This is a little more pick up and play, whereas you know, Super Smash Bros is going to cause you some headaches. Mario Kart 8, you can pretty much, if you can press A, you can race. So that's kind of why I like this game a little bit more than Smash Bros, just because of its accessibility, but it doesn't take away from the fun factor. And you know, no matter what place you are in the races, you always kind of have a shot at finishing in first. So Mario Kart at number 4. At number 3, I have Super Mario Odyssey. Hands down, my absolute favorite Mario game. I just kind of love 3D platformers that you can kind of run around and explore, and this game does that perfectly. It looks beautiful, one of the best looking games on Nintendo Switch. It runs perfectly. Controlling Mario is super satisfying. There's a lot of momentum to his movement, like if you're running or rolling down a hill, you move at a faster pace, and it's just filled with just little details like that just kind of you know, it's a masterpiece of a video game. It's just so much fun. It's easy at first, like most Mario games, but then the more you play, the more challenging it gets. Of all the Mario games I've played, I didn't feel like this was the most challenging, even kind of the later levels. I was able to 100% beat this game. I cannot say that about other Mario games. So it is on the easier side, but it's super fun, and it is challenging at points. Like, it's not super easy necessarily, but yeah, just an awesome Mario game. A ton of different kingdoms to explore. I think my favorite is Toasteria, the desert kingdom, or I can't remember if that's the name of the kingdom or not now. It's been a while since I played it, so yeah, you can get a solid amount of hours out of this game too. Once you beat the main story, there's a lot to go back and do. There are hundreds of power moons to collect. You know, some of them are easy, some of them are challenging, but there's basically just hundreds and hundreds of them to do, so they get you with volume. So definitely a must play Nintendo Switch game at some point. At number 2, I have The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is probably a lot of top 10 Switch game number ones. I'm not doing this to be clickbaity by any means. Just kidding. I mean, that's absolutely part of it, but it is also true. It's just kind of how I feel. It's a great video game. It's easily one of my favorite video games of all time. I don't even have to think about it. If you own a Nintendo Switch, I definitely think you need to pick this one up. It was the reason I bought a Nintendo Switch in the first place. So you're probably getting a multiplayer game, which could be your Mario Kart 8 or Smash Bros. And then I feel like you have to get a Mario or a Zelda game as well. So those are always like kind of my first two games I get when I get a Nintendo console, if they're available, of course, which most times that's kind of how Nintendo rolls. They'll have, those multiplayer games out and Mario or a Zelda game. So, out of the Smash Bros. And Mario Kart and Zelda and Mario Odyssey games, you're definitely set for your first few months with Nintendo Switch if you have one of those. Out of the multiplayer and single player games, I would definitely recommend Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart. Obviously my list is ranked that way, so that shouldn't be a surprise, but I feel like there's a lot more to see and experience in Zelda over Mario Odyssey. And Zelda is also a little more challenging, so it's a little more of a serious video game single player experience, where you're doing a lot of exploring, a lot of puzzle solving, a lot of combat. The combat in Zelda is always very fun, very satisfying. The breaking weapons never bothered me in this game, especially once you get the Master Sword, and that kind of it's just always there for the most part. There's a ton of DLC for this game as well that is also very well made and super fun and very much worth the price. I would not be surprised if they end up adding those DLC contents to the Nintendo Switch Online in the future. So I think that they're going to try and incentivize you to buy that moving forward, and obviously just complete speculation, even worth the purchase individually. So a phenomenal Nintendo game. I think this is the game you should buy day one with your console, along with Mario Kart 8. You cannot go wrong with that combo right there. So Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at number 2 on the list. At number 1 is Animal Crossing New Horizons. And now I basically have to justify how this is a better game than The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which, objectively speaking, is not necessarily a better game. It just does so many different things, and they're completely different categories as far as I'm concerned. The Animal Crossing, I think it recently just became the best-selling video game on the Nintendo Switch console of all time. I don't know where it ranks among all video games all time, but it's got to be up there because it just sold so many units. This was kind of one of the games that broke through into the mainstream, which you don't really see with a lot of video games, where you'll have your morning talk show hosts talking about it, or celebrities talking about it extensively. That doesn't happen with a lot of video games, and this was one of them. It obviously was propelled to heights with the pandemic and everyone wanting to play this game. And this game has a lot of shortcomings in a lot of ways too, but it was so long overdue for fans of the series that it was really well made, and it was good enough. I think they kind of dropped the ball with DLC later down the road, but even if you just take the game for what it is, it's still a phenomenal game. Definitely, it's hard to argue that it's not the best game in the Animal Crossing franchise, and just my favorite Nintendo Switch game, by far the one I've played the most. So that is my top 10 Nintendo Switch games. There are a ton that did not make the list, so let me know what your top 10 Nintendo Switch games are if you want to do that, or just tell me which games you should have thought made the list. See you guys in the next one.